this all could have been avoided.
Storm out here in Daytona. Got a little bit of a situation on our hands.
A motorcycle can take you to some of the most incredible places on Earth, but one small mistake can turn your dream ride into a complete nightmare.
Currently on the side of the road. Start smelling some rubber. The son of a gun.
After doing numerous iron butt rides over 1,000 miles and countless days exceeding 300 miles, I've learned exactly what'll wreck your trip, the hard way. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to avoid these mistakes. And stick around to the end because I have a bonus tip that's an absolute game changer when it comes to planning your trip. Now let's hop into it. Let's start off with mapping your route. I typically use Google Maps because I've found that it's the most accurate when it comes to real-time traffic, and it's pretty user-friendly. But once you have the app open, you need to decide what kind of route you're actually looking for. If you're on a time crunch like I am most of the time for my iron butt rides, I'm gonna seek out the fastest route. But if you're just planning a day trip, look for the scenic and twisty roads. I mean, that's where all the fun is, right? And in addition, make sure to try to avoid gravel and dirt roads.
Yeah, I love it.
I can handle these roads, but my Road Glide isn't a big fan. Quite frankly, neither am I. Now you also have to keep in mind you might run into some toll roads. Don't worry though, because Google Maps will tell you exactly where they are and even give you a cost estimate. But just know, they're not always 100% accurate. And this is the exact reason why I always carry an Easy Pass on my bike, so that way I'm not fumbling around for cash or tickets at the booth, and I can just roll on through and keep on cruising. And here's another thing to keep in mind. You gotta give yourself a time buffer. If Google Maps says your trip's gonna be 6 hours, just plan on for 7. At a minimum, you can tack on about 30 to 60 extra minutes. And this is gonna be for gas, food, and bathroom breaks. And plus, you're gonna wanna get off the bike and stretch your legs a little bit. Now let's talk gas stops. I know it sounds simple, but fuel management is extremely important. You don't want to be that guy sitting on the side of the road because you ran out of gas trying to push your limits. I know my bike gets about 200 miles to the tank, so I aim to stop every 180 miles or so. This gives me a solid safety net so I can find a nearby gas station, and I always try to find a major truck stop like Pilot or T&A. They're pretty reliable and usually right off the freeway. And here's another critical tip. Don't always count on this gauge right here, your miles to empty. If you ride a Harley Davidson, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This number is a professional liar. I remember on one trip, my screen told me I had about 65 miles left and the closest gas station was 30 miles away. So I thought I was golden. Well, that number started dropping way faster than the mileage I was covering. By the time I finally coasted into the gas station, that screen said I had 1 mile left to leave. Needless to say, I was sweating bullets. So from that day on, I stopped trusting that readout and started using my trip odometer instead. Next on my list, planning where you're gonna sleep. This really only applies for multi-day trips. You might be tempted just to wing it and find somewhere along the way. But trust me, you don't wanna take this gamble. Take my buddy Q from Riding and Wrenching, for example. He decided to wing it on a long trip and it didn't work out so well.
About 1,100 miles from Ocean City to Memphis. Got dark. I am in no man's land, Virginia. Every hotel in no man's land is booked except one hotel. Ta-da! The day's end. I don't have a thermometer to tell you how warm it is inside this room. Oh, got a working light. Cool. This one doesn't work. And here's my bathroom. I've got all kind of holes in the wall. Oh, wow, look at that. Maybe I can electrocute myself while I'm here. Wow, a hook. Sweet. I got somewhere to hang my towel. Ooh, and that must be a add-on feature, the hole in the wall. And I get a used rag. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Let's take a look at my air conditioning. Yeah, that's right. Window-mounted air conditioner sitting on the floor. It's gonna be a beautiful night.
Make sure to look at the reviews and try to book it in advance. You don't want to end up like Q. Okay, you have your ride all mapped out. Now you have to decide if you're gonna do this solo or with others. If you're gonna head out in a group or with one of your other buddies, your riding styles have to be in sync or the ride could quickly fall apart. I remember when I went on a 1,500-mile trip with my buddy Bauer. Before we even left, we made sure we were on the same page. Gas stops, how many miles we planned to cover each day, and the pace we'd be riding. And because we hashed this out ahead of time, the ride went super smooth. Now, if you're riding solo, you only have to worry about yourself. Just keep in mind if something goes wrong though, you don't have anyone to back you up. So make sure you have some roadside assistance on your insurance or even a hog membership. Now that we have the ride all planned out, let's move into preparation. This next one's pretty obvious, but I have to mention it. Get a good night's rest the day before your trip because you don't want to be tired while you're out on the road. A lack of sleep's going to reduce your reaction time and cause you to make stupid mistakes that otherwise could have been avoided. I know sometimes this can be tough because you're so excited for your trip, but we need to make this a priority. Now let's talk about hydration. Hydration should start a couple days before your trip. A lot of people don't realize it takes a couple days for your body to get fully hydrated. This will help you stay more alert and minimize the chance of getting a cramp. I remember on one of my first road trips, I didn't hydrate a couple days in advance, and while I was out on the road, I got a pretty extreme leg cramp. Not fun. And before you even think about heading out, you have to be honest with yourself. How far can I actually ride comfortably? While I was prepping for my Saddle Sore 1000, that's 1,000 miles in under 24 hours, I didn't just jump into it. I took shorter trips and slowly worked myself up. Think of it like training for a marathon. You don't just wake up one day and run 26 miles. You start small and build that endurance. And the same exact thing applies for long distance riding. Not only do you have to be honest with yourself, you also have to be honest about your bike. Is it actually set up to ride comfortably for long distance? Can my bike actually handle that many miles? If there's something on your bike that makes short trips uncomfortable, it's definitely gonna make a long trip miserable. Think about highway pegs, maybe a better seat, or even something small as adjusting your handlebars. Anything that'll make the trip a little more comfortable. And once your bike's all set up, you have to go over it from top to bottom using the T-CLOCS method. For T-CLOCS, you want to check your tires and wheels, controls, lights and electronics, oil and fluids, your chassis, and your kickstand. Pay close attention to wearable items like your tires and brakes. Make sure they have enough life in them to get you there and back. The last thing you want is to be in the middle of nowhere scrambling to find a shop for a service that could have been prevented. Now we're gonna go off track just for a second, but it's gonna lead me into my next section. Let's talk about one thing we can't control, the weather. I always check the weather the night before and before my bike even leaves the garage. I'm not fancy with it, I just use the weather app on my iPhone. But the key is, I don't just check the weather at home, I check the weather in every major city that I'm gonna pass through. Take the extra 30 seconds to add those stops into your weather app so you know what you're gonna be riding into. Checking the app is one thing, but being prepared for what it tells you is where a lot of people fail. I learned this the hard way in Daytona.
Guys, we're on the side of the road. Not a bad storm out here in Daytona. It's absolutely blows. What a great start to Daytona. And I don't even take the own advice in my videos. Bring rain gear.
Okay, time to get back on track. Let's move into what to pack. As you just saw, it's obvious that rain gear is a non-negotiable. I don't know about you, but I hate riding completely soaked. I'm always packing a hoodie or an extra jacket, even in the summer. When that sun starts to set, it can start getting chilly pretty quickly. So you always want that extra layer ready to go. And if I'm heading into the mountains or riding in the colder months, I always have my heated gear on standby. And here's a pro tip. Your rain gear isn't just to keep you dry. If the temperature starts to drop and you're getting cold, throw your rain suit on. This will cut the wind drastically and start to trap your body heat to keep you warm. I use this trick all the time, and let me tell you, it makes a heck of a difference. And side note, make sure to pack a couple different types of gloves. I usually pack a pair of thinner gloves and a pair of insulated. In addition to packing gear, you're also going to want to bring a small toolkit. Let me show you what I have in mind.
So right here on the right, I have a spark plug socket, extensions, wire strippers, a pair of vice grips, ratchet, another pair of pliers, a whole metric socket set, crescent wrench, screwdriver that you can get Phillips or flathead, Allen key set, needle nose, cutters, channel locks, and a bigger pair of vice grips.
I also pack a tire repair kit and a small portable air compressor. The good thing is if you bring these tools and you have a minor issue, you'll have the stuff to fix it so you're not stuck on the side of the road. And if you don't want to slap a toolkit together like I did, make sure to check out the Cruise Toolkit. I'll leave a link down in the description. Now once you have all your gear ready, it's time to pack it onto the bike, the right way. When you're loading your bike, you want to keep your heavier items low and close to the bike's center of gravity. The best way to visualize this is with the rider's triangle. In simple words, the rider's triangle is formed by connecting 3 points: your seating position, the handlebar position, and the footrest. By keeping your heaviest gear centered as close to this zone as possible, you maintain better balance and control. If you start loading heavy items back onto your sissy bar in the luggage rack, it's going to start making the bike feel top heavy and unstable, especially in the turns. You don't want to overpack. It adds unnecessary weight and clutter, and this can affect your bike's handling and fuel economy. Alright, so you planned out your route, prepared yourself, inspected the bike, and packed smart. Let's talk about some mistakes to avoid while you're out on the road. My number one tip, don't get complacent. And we're all guilty of this, even myself. After we're on the road for a couple hours and things are going smooth, we get a little too comfortable. You'll start checking your mirrors less frequently, maybe creep up on your speed a little too much, or not scan at intersections as carefully as you should. It's easy to fall into this trap on long trips, but we need to stay sharp and treat every mile like it matters, because it does. Next up, pay attention to the signs of fatigue. The major red flags is getting sleepy and making dumb mistakes. If fatigue starts creeping in, stop. Pull over somewhere safe like a gas station or a rest stop, remove your helmet, walk around, and stretch a little bit. You should be doing this anyway at all your stops, even if you're not tired. And when it comes to eating on the road, keep it light. I know it can be tempting to get that big greasy burger and an extra large fry, but that thing that they call a food coma is real. Save that big meal when you're done for the day and the bike's parked. I'll usually pack some protein bars, beef jerky, or nuts.
These nuts? Got him!
Anyways, keeping it light boosts your energy without weighing you down. And remember, drink water at every stop. If you're waiting until you're thirsty, you're already behind the curve. Pun intended. Alright, here's that bonus tip I promised you. This is going to save you a ton of time. Use AI to find your gas stops. I know a lot of you think AI is evil, but stick with me here. Instead of searching Google Maps for every gas stop along your route, you can use an AI like ChatGPT or Google Gemini to do this work for you. And the best part is you can give it specific instructions and it works extremely well. Let me show you an example. I'm going to use ChatGPT because that's what most people are familiar with. In the prompt box, you'll type where you're starting from and your destination. Then you'll type how often you have to stop for gas. Next, you'll type find me gas stations along the route spaced whatever you typed apart. And lastly, if you're like me, let it know you prefer major truck stops. And in about 5 seconds, the AI will pump out a list of potential stops along your route. And after that, you can even ask it if any of the stops are sketchy. Then it will go in depth and give you all the details. You can also use this to find special destinations or attractions that you didn't even know about. Honestly, the possibilities are endless, so play around with it. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your best tip? Let me know down in the comments. And now that you're ready for that long haul, check out this video right here for some more critical mistakes to avoid. As always, this is Jogo with Jogo Motorcycle Adventures, and until next time, ride on.